This is Tinashe, and you know I got soul.
Alright, so first I want to talk about, recent release Blackwater mixtape. First of all, can you kind of describe the meaning behind the title, Blackwater?
Blackwater really represents kind of a period of time where it's at night and when water is very still and it looks like glass and it's black and you can't see. And I think that's sort of a metaphor for saying, the storm is coming, take advantage of this time when everything is all calm and peaceful. And that obviously is another metaphor meaning many other things.
So I felt like I heard some growth from the, since your last mixtape, Reverie, in terms of it wasn't as dark. I felt like, aside from Vulnerable, which was very dark,
yeah.
But the rest, I kind of, it was a little different. Was that kind of what you were going for?
Yeah, I definitely wanted with this current project, Blackwater, to show a progression from where I was with my previously released projects, just because my debut album that is supposed to come out next year is a progression, and I want people to kind of just get in the mind state of, as a creative person, I like to experiment, and my creative inspiration kind of comes from different places at different points in my life. So maybe the sound that I was making for Blackwater is a little bit more progressive. I think it's a little bit more high energy, a tiny bit more than Reverie, and then hopefully the album will be even a progression farther from that. So this is kind of like the stepping stone.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the first single, Vulnerable? Kind of what inspired you, to create that song?
Well, Vulnerable is produced by Boy Wonder, and he's from Toronto. Like last year I went to Toronto and spent a few days in the studio with him, and we really vibed out and made a few songs, and I don't think those songs were going to make the album, so we wanted to keep making some records. So he ended up emailing me the beat one day, and I listened to it, and I was just like, yeah, because I loved the bass, I loved the feel, I loved that grittiness, and it really kind of brought out this character or this side of me within me that I kind of wanted to write from that standpoint. So I put myself in that position mentally, and I just wrote kind of like a sexy, dark, seductive type song, which I thought was really cool. And then I sent it to RCA to check it out. They flipped over it, and they were like, you know what, we should get a feature on this, we should get a feature. And they were thinking about, they're like, how about Travis Scott? And I was like, you know what, let's see what he's got, let's see what he can do with it.
Right.
Because he's obviously like a super kind of quirky in a way, so I felt like that would add an element of just interest to the song, another layer of depth. And yeah, I heard his verse and I just thought it was interesting and cool, so I was like, you know what, let's do it.
Yeah.
And put it out there, and people have really responded to it well, so I'm glad.
I think actually this song is a good example of something you do really well, and that's like your vocals on the song. They're very, I would describe it as sinister, almost like evil. And then, but in the background, you have like these angelic tones going.
Right.
Which is it's a cool contrast.
Right.
It gives it like an eerie feeling. Is that something you do consciously?
I definitely try to do that consciously. I think the interesting thing about my music and the interesting thing about my voice is that it can come across as being very soft, very gentle, very sweet. And so in my music, if I made very sweet songs or very gentle, pretty beats, then my music would just be so cute.
Right.
So I try to do the opposite of that and find really dark, heavy, gritty beats, and then put these kind of softer vocals on top of it. And I think the contrast is what, like you said, makes it interesting, or can make it sound kind of a little eerier. So yeah, I definitely do that on purpose.
Oh, cool. So what influenced the sound overall of this project? What were you into at the time? What creative zone were you in?
Well, like I kind of mentioned before, I really wanted it to be an introduction to kind of the progression that my music is taking and where it's going to go with my album. So I think from that point of view, I wanted the songs to have tempo, and I wanted them to feel new, but at the same time I wanted to bring in elements of like 90s R&B and like some throwback feels, just because I feel like people really relate to that, one, and two, because I have some of those kind of vibes on my new album and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted, that was kind of the inspiration for that. I used a lot of new age techniques, and with like the instrumentation and the production and just the lyricism, and then took some kind of just vibes from like maybe like the 90s.
Right. You know, in the past, I've heard you say you're attracted to darker moods and darker vibes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is the attraction there for you? Like, is that a way of life? Is that, you know, a lifestyle for you?
I think, just kind of like I said before, the reason being is because I think when as an artist, I don't want to come across too sweet or like too cute, because there's definitely different sides to me, and I don't think I'm like Disney sweet or like you know, like I don't want to make those kind of songs like
right.
Katy Perry, for example, even though I love Katy Perry. But yeah, so I really try consciously to bring in that level of darkness and just eeriness into my music, and I just find it interesting. I think it's interesting and intriguing. Even in my visuals, I like to have a layer of just like, that was kind of creepy.
Right. That's cool.
You know?
Yeah. Now, there's a song on this mixtape that stuck out to me, which was "Stunt."
Yeah.
You know, what was the inspiration for that?
Well, Ill Mind sent me that beat. He's a dope producer, so shout out to him. But I really wanted to write a song that wasn't a relationship song, and dealt with just, I think it covers a broad spectrum of topics. It goes from just being like in a position where, for example, a guy's trying to get at you and he's maybe coming on just like he's coming at you foul or like a little bit disrespectful because he's a little bit too cocky, then it kind of goes for that. And I think it's also just a message to people in general who have just doubted me over the years, and who have, you know, maybe didn't expect me to achieve the things that I achieve. And so I really just wanted a song that people could relate to and fit it into any category of their life, however that portrays to their own experiences, but comes from the standpoint of, you know, I don't need you. I can do this on my own. Like, I got this.
Right. Definitely made a statement with that one.
For sure. That's the point.
So with this being your third mixtape, you know, I know you have a decent following, a very good following, in fact. How has it helped you kind of build up from mixtape to mixtape, build up your audience and your fan base?
Yeah. Well, I think the first two mixtapes that I put out really established who I sort of was as an artist, and I really kind of was able to find fans that really gravitated towards what I was offering at the time, and the fact that, you know, I was making my own music, and that I'm, you know, really the creative mind behind all of the stuff that I'm putting out there. So I think that was really the core of where my fan base grew, which was people that really kind of just respected me as a person, as an artist. And then as I've continued to put out music, I think I've garnered more fans from, because my sound can be sort of versatile in a way. I think more people are sort of realizing that it's not just boxed into one category, and maybe more people are gravitating towards it because it's not so specific.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and especially this year, I really wanted to put out a project for my fans, because I know they had been waiting all year, since I've been working on my debut album since 2013 began. So Blackwater was sort of like a gift kind of from me to my fans, just because I don't want to like go back on my word and not release something this year, and I told them.
Right.
But so I just did it, and luckily it received great response from, you know, the internet and everything, and really solidified in my brain that okay, like, this is, people are really going to start looking for this stuff. So it's good, it's exciting, and it's a good feeling to know that when I put out my next project, that hopefully people will have some sort of sense of who I am, and it doesn't just come out of the sky.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And then just finally, can you tell us about your debut album that's coming up next? Some details on it.
Well, my debut album is supposed to come out in 2014. The first song will be out, I would assume, in January.
Okay.
The first single from the album, and I've got a few features on the album, but I don't want to tell you who they are yet, 'cause too soon to give away that information. But you should definitely know that there are people on the album. There is an album that's almost completed. We've recorded nearly 100 songs for the album at this point, so we're really in the final stages of picking and choosing the key songs and finding the ones that will fill in the gaps.
Right.
So we're getting there, but it's gonna be awesome. Trust me, I'm a perfectionist, so like I'm not gonna put it out until I'm 100% confident that it's where I'm gonna be. Especially because you only get one debut album. So
Of course.
yeah, I want it to be right.
Cool.
For sure.
That's all we have for you. Anything you want to add?
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And make sure that you check me out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and TinasheNow.com. You can download all of my mixtapes there, all 3 of them, and keep looking out for their new stuff.